Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server and it's now time to have a look at the data mined air changes that are coming in. These are affecting a lot of vehicles which are already in the game, and also some new mechanics that are coming in too. One thing I do want to mention before we start, there are some new voice lines which are coming in for Thailand and also the Dutchy boys. These are coming in for ground. What I'll do is I will make individual videos going through them so you can hear all the voice lines and have a bit of fun with it. I didn't mention it in the ground video, so I thought I'd just kind of mention it here before we get started. So let's get into some really cool stuff when it comes to the aviation side of things. We'll start off with the JU-188. You may remember more recently, there was one of the Heinz that got a really cool updated cockpit. Well, guess what? The JU-188 also is getting a really interesting updated cockpit. This is very high fidelity and looks absolutely beautiful. So whoever worked on this, you should be incredibly proud of yourself. The vehicle has just everything you would ever want in terms of it. It has the throttles that move, of course. You have the steering, which is all there as well, and also even the foot pedals. All the animations are there, plus, as I said, just the beautiful detail that's on this. So yeah, it's just absolutely wonderful to see it all. One of the coolest things, at least for me, is when it comes to the actual steering. You can see that the clock is on the actual steering gear itself, so you can actually check the time while you're wandering about. Also, you have a gunner right here using the 20mm, which you can fire when you're in the cockpit itself. So that's also really cool as the offensive weapon on this vehicle. It does have a bunch of different turrets, but you also have the 20mm too. So yeah, pretty awesome that's the actual case. So really nice that you're able to do that. So another really cool cockpit for a pre-existing vehicle. That is just awesome. Another change they've also done for the planes in War Thunder, and this one may not affect as many people as you may think, but I think it's just a nice little change that they've done. So you know, like the bomber view that you have for bombs in War Thunder. Well, one of the weird things was you could never actually use it with torpedoes. Well, now you can. So you can actually use the bombing site with torpedoes, and that just means that it's a lot easier to actually use the torpedoes. You know exactly where you're dropping them in the water, and you could even see like the ship coming up as well, especially with stuff like other kind of like torpedoes coming in, which can be dropped from high altitude. You remember the Tu-14, which has access to that parachuted torpedo. This may get a little bit more use, but it's just always been a bit weird how you can't use the bombing site with these, but now you can. So generally, that's pretty cool. Now let's get into some more bomber changes. Gaijin's making a bunch of changes across the board, making a lot of bombers a lot easier to use. So for example, the B-17s, they're actually getting changed quite a lot. The B-17E early, which is this one right here, and then also the B-17E late, they get a new loadout, a stock one. And that stock one is this, 16 250-pound bombs. So you have basically a bunch more bombs that you can bring along as a stock loadout, meaning that you can hit more individual targets if you want to hit general stuff in the game, and then you can have, you know, a good time with this. This is coming in for the B-17E early and also the late. The only difference really between them is the turrets that are there. They basically play the same anyway. And then the B-17G, which comes in a little bit later on in the tech tree, now coupled with, of course, the B-24. This vehicle also has access to a new loadout. It gets the 16 250s once again as a stock loadout. You can see it right there. Then also it gets all of these that you can see down here too. So it gets the 8 500 stock as well, which are basically these. Then you have the 10 600s, which I think might already be in. And then also some good old AP bombs, which also might be in, that I just never checked because I never use AP bombs because there's not really a point in using them. We already had a look at the B-57B, which now has some new rockets. The Ram is kind of nice because they actually fixed something on it. They did do some changes to the Spice 2000s on it, but the main thing is they actually fixed the icon. So it actually looks a little bit nicer too. They also changed its custom loadouts, meaning that you can take different stuff on different slots based on what you have unlocked. So the stock configuration should be a little bit easier. The JH7A, they've also changed. So this is the Chinese vehicle right here. So what they're doing with the JH7, it's not implemented yet. This vehicle is not in kind of a great situation. It's just not working properly. There are problems, but you can see here, they are actually upping the amount of KH-29s that it can carry. So instead of being able to just carry 2 KH-29Ts that it could do before, it is now going to be able to carry 4 of the KH-29Ts. So you can either pick these up or you can use the guided bombs with the thermal package. But yeah, the KH-29Ts are going to get more and more aggressive and more egregious. The Tornado GR Mark IV, which is one of the Tornadoes in the game, they're also changing it as well. If you didn't know, there's just millions of Tornadoes, but this one right here is the one that's actually changing. What they're doing with it is they've changed the custom loadouts for the actual slots on the wings. So now the actual countermeasures that you see here, instead of it just being, 28 split large countermeasures and then chaff, it also is you can actually change it so you can take just kind of like the 240 countermeasures, and this will actually change its weight to 286 kilos. So if you want to take these, it's going to be a little bit heavier than what it was previously, but I think it still will be kind of worth it since you can just like mash the countermeasure button and have a bit of fun with it. The Z10ME is also getting changed, so this is something we talked about, but I think I kind of just like overlooked it a little bit, went a bit quick past it, so I think I'll just show you it again. Basically, the Z10ME, they're adding the BA-11 Blue Arrow missile, which is something that I feel is going to be incredibly good in terms of the game. You already have the CM502s that are on the vehicle. You can bring 16 of them, but with the Blue Arrows, which you'll find here, the BA-11s, you can only at the moment take 8. Now, these are IRIOG missiles, and they fire at 16-kilometer range, which is incredibly good, and also have a 5-kilo TNT equivalent warhead. The other part of it is they are heat, which means that you're able to penetrate with them with the tandem warhead and hammer with it. So the actual usefulness of these missiles is going to be a lot more than the C502s. The 502s are very good, being fire and forget missiles, but they only have a HE warhead on it. With the Blue Arrows, which you can find right here, these should be able to actually penetrate targets as well and do damage. So with the DIRCM, which is also involved on this thing, and then also other factors, it's going to be pretty nuts in terms of it. So if you are a person who is very much worried about these things actually taking over your games, well, don't worry. They are going to take them over even more now, just by basically just popping these BA-11s and just kind of throwing them in. They'll be better against many different targets, mainly ones which have access to multiple layers of armor, and since they have so much of the actual kind of like explosive filler in them and also that tandem warhead, what they're going to do a lot of the time is they're going to overpressure the crew that's inside while also destroying them. The thing about the BA-11s is they are a bit slower though, so therefore they'll be a little bit harder to actually get on target since they'll be easier to engage, but their length and their distance is really, really good compared to others. Now, there is a bunch of flight model changes coming in. There's also a bunch of vehicles that just aren't finished yet, such as the JH7, and also a ton of radar changes. These little things would take literal years to go through every time, and since they change them pretty much every day on the dev server, I'm not going to go over them all until it's all finished. So that's when we'll have a look at all of that. Thank you for watching as always. I'll see you next time. Peace be with you.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.